Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging. We're in Wave Echo Cave, part of Phandelver and below. And technically the last act of Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is probably the most well-known 5th edition adventure, I would think. The most run adventure of 5th edition. I would imagine so. It's like pretty much the only one I've ever run. It was the kind of starter adventure for a good long while, so we're doing pretty well. 2 of our characters have contracted ghoul fever, which is not good, especially because time on this is a little iffy. 6 days for Booskar, 8 days for Gartuna. And this has to be cured with Cure Disease. And we obviously don't know Cure Disease. I believe Cure Disease is a level 3 divine spell, if I recall correctly. Yes. Which means that it's not going to be available in the small town of Phandalin, which has just that little priest, little temple, little shrine. No, there's none in a class 6. We'd have to get to a class 5 at least to have a divine 3rd level spell. But there is a spell called Delay Disease, which probably will save our bacon for a little bit. Yeah, so Delay Disease will just hold it off if it hasn't become symptomatic. And that lasts 24 hours. So we'd either have to hire someone that's in town that can cast this to go with us, travel back with us to Neverwinter, which could be arranged, or maybe we'll get enough XP. But you have a Booskar. If he levels up, he'll go to level 3. He'll get a tier 2 spell. He's not going to pick Delay Disease as a tier 1 spell. So yeah, that's really our only hope of survival. And the unfortunate part is we have 2 characters that have ghoul fever. 8 days, maybe. Because we're probably not going to be able to pick up horses in Phandalin, but maybe we can talk to the Coster or something. They might have... I don't know, maybe. But getting back to Neverwinter... Assuming I leave right now, today, and we make great time, we get back to Phandalin in 1 day, and then we follow the road. Let's say we're traveling 18 miles per hour, or per day. 50% more. It's like 27 miles per day on the road. 6, 12, 18, 24-ish. We get to like here, day 1. And 6, 12, 18, 24. Like here, day 2. 6, 12, 18, 24. If we push it, maybe. Maybe 3-day ride. A 3-day hike, if we push it. So that would be 4 days total, assuming we navigate back to Phandalin properly. Okay, then it might be alright. It might be alright. But if we can't finish this mine today, I think we have to say fuck it and go all the way back to Neverwinter. So that's how I'm feeling. Somebody commented recently on some other Shadowdark videos mentioning that one of the good things to spend your money on early on are dogs, hunting dogs. And I don't know why it never really occurred to me, because I always just thought of men. I think of men, and I thought of, guards and things like that. But just having a couple hunting dogs with you is pretty advantageous. A hunting dog costs 10 gold a pop, which means in a small town you might probably only get one per month. This is a trained hunting dog. The price of a infant dog is probably fairly cheap, I would imagine. Where am I looking? Yeah, so the price of just a little pup is 5.5 gold, which is, interestingly enough, the same price as an adult. So yeah, I guess it's not that much different to just buy them trained. There's not much profit in training them, but they train very easily. You can train a hunting dog in about a month. You can tame it to become like, a companion. And then it takes another month in order to train it to do a trick. And then after that, it's 2 weeks to learn more tricks. But you can also train it for a role, which is what this is, which is a hunter role. And that's what costs the 10 gold. So that 10 gold, they're already trained as hunters. And that means they'll just come along with you on hunts and kill things that you are hunting and blah, blah, blah. So you get a big bonus when you're doing hunting stuff if you have hunting dogs with you. But more than that, I mean, it's a dog. They have acute hearing and acute olfaction. They get a +2 bonus to avoid surprise in their natural habitat. They can track if you get a scent hound. And you can just have them kind of at your camp to be pretty much constantly alert, ideally. I mean, they snooze or something, but they're gonna perk up at all sorts of little sounds that you probably might not hear. So yeah, so then I was looking into how many hunting dogs can you have? That answer seems to be a little murkier, but it's there's this monstrous henchman section here, the monster manual, which is very fun to think about, of how many, theoretically you can have any monster as part of your party as a henchman. Some are obviously going to be a lot trickier to handle, but it says the white wolf at the side of a black-clad ranger, the draconic mount of a young champion, the noble steed of a gleaming knight, or the beastman chief at the side of the evil overlord. They're all monstrous henchmen. And they gain XP. Yeah. You do have to pay them, obviously. Sapient monstrous henchmen get a half share of treasure, monthly fee for food, lodging, and expenses. Animals, costs are equal to the animal supply cost, plus additional costs equal to the wages of henchmen of its hit die. And I guess the explanation is that you just kind of lavish them with money. It's just a balance thing, really. I mean, there's not really a great rational explanation for it, but it's a balance thing. So there are all sorts of different tricks that you can teach monsters that you've trained, but then you can also bundle those together into these different roles. And so hunting dogs already have the hunter role if they're trained. Hunters are trained to accompany their handlers on hunts where they will track and kill designated targets. Unlike guard creatures, hunters require constant monitoring and discipline to ensure they stay under control. Therefore, a proficient character can safely control only 6 hunter creatures, An unproficient character can control only one. So basically, a party of 4, assuming no proficiencies or anything, could have like 4 hunting dogs with them, which I think is fair. Someone would have to go out of their way to want to go into animal handling and animal training and all that sort of stuff in order to control large groups of them, which is probably fair. So, you can also, if you have like bewitching spells, you can bewitch monsters and they become immediately tame. However, if the bewitchment's duration ever expires, the creature will revert to being wild until it's bewitched again. If you have speak with beasts, you always count as proficient for the purpose of handling trained animals in their roles. Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's just another aspect of Axe. I just love, like, how... Like, the possibilities are really just endless, man. But... Yeah, having some trained hunting dogs with you is just, like, it's one of those no-brainers of, like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have some donkeys with you, and why wouldn't you have some hunting dogs with you? And why wouldn't you just have a few guards to watch over everything? It's like, at a certain point, early on, you will be able to easily afford all this shit. And there's really not much good reason to avoid doing it. Unless you really want to have a very small footprint, I suppose. Like a small party, for whatever reason. But I think it's at a certain point, it's just like, I'd rather probably have this whole, like, caravan, you know, of like 50 individuals, and we all just kind of roam around and park in front of a dungeon. But, yeah, I mean, that, I guess, could invite its own problems. There's no perfect solution. Yeah, okay. I guess that's all I had to say about that. Yeah, I guess that's all I had to say about that. Anyways, I suppose let's continue. We're in 11. We're doing fairly well. Most of us are doing pretty good on health. We have not actually lost any spells, shockingly. But we had a couple close calls there, and then, yeah, the ghoul fever is not ideal. So we see this door over here barricaded. We could take down the barricade and go that way, but I'd rather progress north and see what we can find there. So Fiora is going to scout ahead and peek around the corners here, looking into W18. A wide rift fills the eastern half of this cavern. A stream pours from the west wall before tumbling into the rift and flowing to the north. Secured to iron stakes along the western edge of the rift are several ropes leading to the chasm floor. A drow supervisor barks orders at 2 bugbears sifting through rubble, while 2 other bugbears stand guard. Okay. So there's a drow in here barking orders to a couple bugbears. Two of the 4 bugbears in this area clear rock on the rift floor. The other 2 stand guard in the western half of the cavern, watching for any undead incursion. Oh, okay. So I think then that would be here. That would be where I'm looking in. Okay. So there's a couple bugbears down here in this little chasm. There's a drow sort of up here. Actually, should we just put down fucking tokens? That's your bugbear? Is that really what I pulled out? Yeah, I prefer this one. There's no easy resize, is there? Well, I definitely fucking shifted it. How did I do that? Okay, I don't know what I did. I'm terrible with Foundry. I thought there was a way to easily resize, but maybe not. Let's see here. Boundary resize token. No, I don't want to right click and go into its settings. I had to use a macro. They really have never made an easy way for you to do this. That's crazy. Double right click. And then go here. And then change the dimensions. But that's so lame. How is there not a better way to do this? That's crazy, man. Okay, I just want a couple of these. A couple down here, and then do we have a drow? Do have a drow, look at that. Okay. Just so I can kind of make it a little easier for me. Okay, so they would be watching this way. They would be quite alert. So this is going to be a trickier one for Fiora. This would be 15, probably. They're quite alert, and they have lightless vision. So she's going to have to be on her game. She's going to use up her advantage. Oh, no, she already has advantage. Never mind. Why would you do that? She already has advantage. Okay, she fucked up. We have no luck tokens, so there's no possibility of that. So, basically, she was a little overconfident, and she kind of looked around the edge, and they happened to be looking right at that spot, so it just, that's how it goes, you know? So, they lock eyes. I think we'd go immediately into an encounter then. With both sides potentially being surprised. Because there was no foreknowledge on either side. She just looked around, there they were, done. That's how I'm ruling it. So our side is not surprised. Their side, since she's operating independently, they do get a -2 to their surprise. Which means they are surprised. Now, I know... Okay, look. I know that it says for bugbears, they are naturally stealthy. Characters encountering them suffer a -2 penalty to surprise rolls. Okay, fine. I'll give it to them. I mean, that's fair, right? That's basically what we're saying about the thief. She's naturally stealthy. So, that's why I just kind of poked my head around, because I had no clue they were there. So, fine. We both failed. Neither side is surprised. Now we're going to roll into initiative. I think bugbears have, like, +0 or +1, maybe. +0, okay. And she has +2. She's, again, operating independently. The rest of the group's, like, 30 feet behind. She rolls a 5. They roll a 6. So they go immediately. Yeah, I mean, there's basically no humans working in this whole operation, so... Yeah, humans or elves, so... Yeah, they would immediately assume that we're kind of a threat. So they would shout and point their swords and blah, 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 and then quickly move in. Yeah, technically these are 5-foot squares, so... the scale is way off. But yes, they would move up to Fiora and swing at her. They're not going to charge. I guess I tend to play monsters a little bit more... I think, like, mindless things and stuff like that that just don't give a shit, or desperate characters or something, but I think most enemies should be a bit more rational and not charge in and open themselves up. So they're just going to move in and swing their swords. And we are going with swords, I suppose. So they swing with +4, and they have +1 damage. Okay, so the first one swings, misses. Second one swings and misses. Excellent. Okay, and then it says that if a fight breaks out in the main cavern, the 2 bugbears in the rift climb the ropes to join the fray. And it's a 20-foot rope. Okay. So we can assume then that yeah, we'll get them up here as well. And then as for the doppelganger in the form of a drow, yeah, probably would just let the bugbears handle this first and sit in the back. But then it's our turn. So Fiora is going to back up into this corridor. And she's going to be joined now by the other 2. So then Rucker is going to be up front. He'll prepare. Well, no, they don't really get a turn. This all happened pretty quickly, so they don't really get a turn. But she just runs up and runs behind Rucker back here. So now it's the whole group's involved. So now we're going to roll initiative again. We have +0, they have +0. Our initiative is 2. There's a 6 again. Okay. They're going to keep going down. And they're going to attack Rucker now, who's up front. These guys probably get to, like, here. And, yeah, they're going to attack Rucker twice. Okay, one of them does hit. So it's 1d6 plus 1. 2 damage to Rucker. Not bad. Not bad. Alright, then it's our turn. Now, I hate to say it, but Slumber's just so fucking good and powerful and potent that it's really hard to ignore. These are bugbears, they're pretty nasty. Slumber is the easiest, best option. It really is. I mean, I'd hate to lose it, of course, but what's the point of holding on to it? There's 4 bugbears, and we don't have an abundance of health. So yeah, she'll cast Slumber. She'll probably fuck it up. 10-foot diameter, I mean, it really depends entirely on the DM of, like, how close these other bugbear are. I mean, they could be back here, in which case we wouldn't really be able to hit all 4 bugbears. Or they could be, you know, clamoring and trying and stab their way in from the 2nd rank or something. I don't know. Are the bugbears close enough to be affected? Yes. Okay. So they are pretty close, trying to stab in or reinforce or whatever. We are not going to include the doppelgangers at the top of the steps here, but yeah, if this hits, it'll hit all 4. And of course, she rolls a 20. Just so I can continue with this cheesiness. Because, yeah, the Shadowdark sleep spell wouldn't affect these bugbears ever. Like, unless you crit. But it's balanced by the fact that you could cast it repeatedly throughout the day. The axe version can affect these, but you're only supposed to cast this, like, once. Or maybe twice a day at this level. So I'm fucking cheesing, man. Alright, so they have to roll against 20. This is a wisdom save. I'm pretty sure we recall they have 0 wisdom. Yep, so they have to roll a 20. They didn't. They got close, but unfortunately. So all 4 bugbears go down. Again. Like, I'm cheesing, man. It raises a damn good question of, is it too powerful? Obviously, Shadowdark's magic is, especially at lower levels, a Shadowdark wizard is a more potent character than almost any other old school game. I mean, honestly, even more potent than like a 5th edition character. Like, potentially, you can just cast Sleep 20 times per day, and if you're just fighting like bandits and goblins and things like that, you're putting a lot of shit to sleep in all day, every day. Magic Missile, you roll with advantage. There's a very good chance you could cast it like 30 times a day without issue, and you're just spamming Magic Missile. That's something that would just never ever happen in an old school game. So it is already very imbalanced compared to a lot of old school material. But then, you know, part of Shadowdark's spells are somewhat balanced against that fact. They have very set, specific ranges and values and things like that. Sleep is only good against level 1 or 2 creatures, and that's it. That's it forever. And if you look at, like, Fireball, for example, of just like a, you know, very iconic spell, it's 4d6 damage. And yeah, being able to lay that down numerous times per day, starting from level 5, is pretty good. It is tier 3, so you have to have a 13 or higher on the roll, but by level 5, it's not crazy for you to have like +6 or something on your roll. So yeah, and theoretically you could have advantage on all your Fireball casts, because that's another talent you could pick up. So yeah, it's very possible for you to cast Fireball like 10 times a day at level 5, which is obscene. 46 damage in a 30-foot cube is very powerful. But, you know, the axe version, at level 5, you'd be able to cast it like once. And then that would be it. But as time goes on, you'd be able to cast it more than that per day. And it also scales. It's 1d6 per caster level. So at level 9, you're doing 9d6 damage. But the way that we have it set up is at level 9, in Shadowdark, you'd cast it and it would do 4d6 damage. In Axe, you'd cast it to do 9d6 damage, and you could cast it repeatedly. I'm conflicted, because I like the Axe spell list so much. To me, it's like the ideal spell list for an old school kind of game. Like, it has basically everything I want in it, and I love it. And I love how exact and specific it all is. I think that's fantastic. But I also like Shadowdark and wizards being able to do multiple things throughout the day, rather than just I shot my load, I cast Charm Person, it failed, and now I'm done for the whole day. Like, as a person that loves playing spellcasters, that just feels like like, I get it. It's worked for many years, because you eventually become very powerful, and you eventually become the guy that's launching 9d6 fireballs and firestorms and shit like that. Like, it's very cool, but it's a rough road early on. So I feel like I could say, you know, I already say, I've said, okay, you can use the Shadowdark spell list, or you can use the Axe spell list. You know, it's your choice. I could say, okay, you can use the Shadowdark spell list, and you get to use spells, you know, you have to roll to cast until you fail, and then you lose it for the day. Or you can use the Axe spell list, and you follow the Axe sort of spell progression, which means at level 1, you can cast, like, 1 spell per day. And at level 2, you can cast 2 spells per day. And that's it. You cast it, and it's over. But you don't have to roll to cast it. And then they just become, like, a typical sort of Vancian spellcaster. The problem I feel with that is that no one I know would ever pick the Axe spell list. And I agree. I don't even know if I'd pick it in that case. Being able to cast Sleep or being able to cast Magic Missile, or being able to cast Charm Person, or, you know, any of the other countless spells here. Being able to cast Cure Wounds. That's a great example. Being able to cast Cure Wounds once per day at level 1, or being able to cast Cure Wounds maybe like 10 times per day at level 1. That's, like, it's a no-brainer. So, yeah. I could make it harder to succeed. I could make it, instead of a 10 plus the level of the spell, I could make it like a 14 plus the level of the spell. But if you fail, you still get, it still happens. It still causes the effect at least once before you lose the spell. You could do it that way, and then it would somewhat be more balanced for Axe of like, yeah, you're probably gonna fail. Like, chances are, especially at level 1, you're only gonna cast the spell once per day, and that's it. But maybe, you know, especially with luck tokens or advantage or things like that, you might be able to get more casts out of it per day. I guess you could do that. I don't know. The other thing that I thought, and I've actually seen a discussion about, was actually bringing in the spell list from, like, Shadow the Demon Lord or Shadow the Weird Wizard and trying to make that work. That one, I don't think it would be super balanced by just converting it directly to Shadowdark and saying, yeah, you can just roll to cast, and you can cast as many times as you want, as long as you don't fail. Because I feel like some of those spells are quite potent, especially for like an old school game. Like, I don't think that's super well balanced. But again, it's like, you could just have a different spell cast. Like, I could just make like a sorcerer or something, and they can use weird wizard spells. And they use the weird wizard spell system of like a certain number of castings per day. I don't know. I mean, I bring this up just because this is another fight now that we've completely cheesed and made irrelevant. And yeah, part of that is due to luck, sure. And yes, technically an enemy with the sleep spell could do the exact same thing to us and it would be done and over. And that would be a TPK. And yeah, you know. I don't know. I'm really conflicted about it. I don't want it to be broken. I don't want it to be like, why would you ever not just bring wizards everywhere? Because they're so incredibly powerful compared to everything else. But I think the crux of it really is that I've made everything pretty powerful. Like, fighters now with cleaving and stuff can easily decimate a crowd of lower level targets. Thieves, you know, I had to specifically nerf quite a bit because it just seemed obscene being able to snipe so heavily. I mean, the fact that I gave them backstab with ranged weapons, they have these massive amounts of backstab dice potential. It doubles on a crit. They get advantage when they surprise someone and ambush them. Like, yeah, it can really get out of hand. And I gave them shadowy senses and things like that. I don't know. There's a lot of ways I could balance, but I don't want to specifically like nerf individual spells. You know, I don't want to specifically nerf Slumber. I think Mage Missile is probably pretty balanced, maybe even a little underwhelming compared to the Shadowdark version, because the Shadowdark version you get double the chance to crit for 2d4 damage. Because you have advantage on it. You know, Frightened Humanoid is probably fairly balanced. Choking Grip is, I think, fairly balanced. Just Slumber is such a goddamn potent effect when you're talking about large clumps of enemies that are level 4 or 4 hit dice and under. Especially when combined with the coup de grace rules. Like, I guess if you didn't have coup de grace rules and you actually had to just attack them with advantage and then they woke up if they survived, like, it wouldn't be maybe as bad or something like that. Or if it just lasted like a few rounds or 1d4 rounds or something. But And again, I don't want to nerf individual spells. It's just Slumber is so fucking good. So I don't know. Because Booskar has access to all these axe spells, but you know, Word of Command. Word of Command is basically just an individual target slumber that lasts one round. That's basically how we're treating it. So I think that's pretty balanced. It's just Slumber is so good. Anyways, so she went. That was her turn. Fiora now is going to try to shoot the drow in the back. Well, she's going to shoot her in the face, but yeah. Wild miss, of course. Booskar is going to use Word of Command on the drow to try to get it to go unconscious. So roll that. Critical failure. Well, there you have it. We knew this day was going to come. Okay. Right, so that's penance. Deity is greatly displeased and revokes its power. So we lose the spell for the day, and we have to basically sacrifice 50 gold one way or the other. All right. And then Rucker, yeah. I don't think we can physically get to the drow. We have 4 large bugbear corpses filling this hallway. He'd have to, like, run and leap over them or something. He could throw his spear at the drow. But, no, I guess he'll just stab one of the bugbears and kill him. And then we got a new initiative. So ours is 2. His is... He's probably as higher, right? What does this say? +4. That's pretty high. What does the Shadow Finder Bestiary see for a doppelganger? Really? Was there like a umlaut or something? No? Oh, it was an E. +2. Yeah, okay. So the drow goes first. I would imagine the drow's gonna run. Three or more bugbears are killed. Doppelganger tries to retreat to area with W19 to warn the spider the trouble is coming. Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. So the drow sees that all 4 just dropped and are snoring, and so it's going to run this way and through those doors. Out of sight. And, yeah, I mean, basically combat over at that point. Rucker will finish stabbing the other few bugbears. Which is fine. I mean, we get XP for it, right? Yeah, we get 200 and, no. Yes. That's 130 times 260, that's right. Okay. Well, shit. We have another sort of runaway problem where something is going to know that we're coming. Okay. So, Nesnar the spider's in there. Let's have, before we do anything else, let's have Booskar try to heal Rucker again. Of course. We got no luck tokens, so that's it. Great. So Nesnar the spider is in there, who is a elven wizard. Oh, there is an elf in here then. Okay. Yeah, so he's an elven wizard accompanied by 2 bugbears who defend the leader to the death. And if the doppelganger retreated here, it assumes the guise of Nundro Rockseeker so that Nesnar can use the dwarf as leverage to force the party surrender, although the spider won't actually harm the doppelganger. If they're expecting trouble, the bugbears hide behind pillars and Nesnar casts invisibility on himself and stands near the table. I thought he was going to use Nundro as leverage. Okay. Even though he intends to kill the characters, Nesnar can't resist being curious about them. Given the chance, he quizzes the characters at length regarding their identities, allegiances, interests, and goals, filing it all in his memory in the hope that someday he will find a use for what he learns. Nesnar admits to being the spider and to using the Cragmaw goblins and the Red Brands to ensure that Wave Echo Cave remains his secret. He'll say or do anything to put the characters off guard, including promising to surrender or proposing cooperation against the monsters, impeding his progress toward reaching the Forge of Spells. However, he betrays the characters as soon as he can. Okay. So, I think we'll play a little bit conflicting there. I assume they're expecting trouble. So, yeah, it's a little conflicting between this Nesnar using the doppelganger ganger in the form of Nundro as leverage versus him casting invisibility on himself and standing near the table. That one's a bit easier for me to run, so I think what we'll do is this. We'll have the bugbears hide behind pillars. We're going to have Nesnar cast invisibility on himself and standing nearby. And then we're going to have the doppelganger as Nundro Rockseeker. And he's just going to have, like, his hands behind his back and be, like, on the ground and pretend to be tied up. That's what it's going to be. So, Fiora is, I probably should have used those, shouldn't I? So, fucking hell. Fiora's gonna scout ahead. And then I need an elven wizard of some kind. Sure. So Fiora's gonna scout in. The doors are still open because the drow went in here. And I assume this area is well lit because this is where Nesnar was hanging out. There's half a dozen bedrolls and packs neatly arranged around a rough-built fire pit before the statue. A wooden table stands on the west side of the pillar between 2 pillars. West side of the room between 2 pillars. Okay, so something like that, and you're technically invisible and invisible and invisible. Yeah. And I guess instead of that, we could grab a dwarf. Well, you don't have a dwarf image? Are you crazy? There's no dwarf creature or something that I can just grab? Okay, there we go. No, stop. God damn it. Fine. It's fine. I don't care. I'm not picky. Alright, I'm a little picky. What? Shit. No, it's terrible. You're close. Why did I spend so long doing that? Okay. So yes, there are lights on in this room. There's a big fire pit and everything. So we see the dwarf, and he's just kind of struggling. He's not struggling, but he's just like kind of got his head down, but it's clearly a dwarf. Hands behind his back. He looks tied up. I think I would give a character looking in on that, though, a wisdom check to see if they recognize that it's not actually tied up. So this is going to be difficult, though. It's far away, and it's convincing enough. So DC 18. Ooh, boy. Well, that saves our bacon a little bit. So Fiora does recognize that the dwarf isn't actually tied up, but seems to kind of be pantomiming it. Tricky. Why would that be? Why would that be? Oh ho ho. Wonder if she would just shoot it. I mean, that is very suspicious. And we also don't see a drow anywhere. Does Fiora just snipe this dwarf? No. That would be a bit too risky, but our spidey senses are tingling, so we don't like it. Would she notice the, I don't think he'd notice invisible. Like, that's practically impossible. Yeah, so that's all we really notice about this room. But knowing that it's not tied up, he's not tied up. Or, I mean, it's a strong assumption, I suppose, that he's not tied up. We might be able to use that to our advantage by calling him out. There's no way we stealth in there. We don't know what else is in there, but we suspect some sort of trap. Some sort of ambush. So Fiora's going to return, inform the group of what's in there, what she sees and all that. The rest of the group's going to come up now, so we're pretty clearly visible. The dwarf starts calling out like, "Oh, please, come help me! I'm tied up, please!" And Brucker will say that that we don't think he's tied up at all. We think he's faking it. And if he doesn't prove that he's tied up in the next, 5 seconds, we're gonna put an arrow between his head. Between his eyes. Telling him to basically like shift around so we can see his hands behind his back tied together, tied up. What would he do in that? Well, like, if I was DMing and the players said that. Yeah, I mean, he'd probably argue for a little bit longer of like, "Come on, this is ridiculous. I'm tied up. Just come rescue me." And then, as soon as Fiora starts pulling back her bowstring, I guess, he'd probably just, like, get up quickly and sprint. So let's say we get to that point where Fiora is drawing back her bow, and he's about to get up and sprint. There's no surprise here or anything like that, but it's just going to be an initiative. of whether or not we can get a shot off or something like that before he runs behind a pillar. So let's roll initiative. Yeah, we have +0. He's operating independently for this, so he gets +2. He's pretty quick. Our initiative is 4. His is 4. Our initiative's 5. His is 8. So we might actually, I mean, Fiora might fire off the bow or something like that. And it just misses widely because he was just a bit too fast for a dwarf. Very spry for a dwarf that was pretending to be tied up. But he dives behind a pillar. Technically, we are in combat. There is initiative, but if the group doesn't budge, neither are they going to budge. So now it's like this another stalemate of what the fuck do we do? Technically, I could toss a slumber over there, though. 10-foot diameter sphere. If Gartuna is standing at this corner, God, I hate the measurement tools here, but yeah, basically like targeting here. Yeah, I mean that would clip him. Sure. Why not? It's a better plan than anything else, so she'll try it. Okay, 15. So the bugbear has to roll 15 or above. He rolls a 20, so the bugbear does not fall asleep. And the doppelganger, which we're using, what are we using? Axe stats? Yeah, I suppose. So it's a 4-hit dice creature. And his wisdom is +0, so he also needs a 15 or above. He does. So the slumber goes off and nothing happens. We don't hear anything happen. We don't hear anything hitting the floor or anything. It just... She's like, I'm pretty sure that's where he ran, and the spell definitely fired. Okay. Hit him again. What else am I going to do? Until I lose the spell, I may as well, right? I don't think Nesnar is stupid enough to go in, but it does raise a good question of what spells does Nesnar have other than invisibility? He has Dancing Lights, Mage Hand, Spider Climb, Web, Darkness, Fairy Fire, Invisibility, Mage Armor, Magic Missile, Suggestion. Yeah, I mean, dropping Darkness onto our little cube there could be pretty bad, but we'd probably just flee back the way we came. So I don't think he'd really imagine that would do much. Web would probably be his best bet. Yeah, if he could web us all, then, the bugbears could run in. But he really wants us to step in before he does that. And so far, we're not actually doing much to his team. Because if he casts any spells, he breaks invisibility, and he really wants to take advantage of being invisible for the moment. So, fuck it. I guess, fuck it. They're going to wait still. So we're going to cast Slumber again. Okay, even easier for them to break, but... Alright, the bugbear needs a 12 or higher. He crit again! Holy shit! And the doppelganger, 12 or higher. Ho ho! Sleeping, my fine friend. So we do hear, like, a slump. Something thuds and hits the ground. We got him, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the bugbear can probably just wake him back up. Which is almost certainly what's going to happen. But I don't know if we'd know that. So, Gartuna took her turn for the round and cast Slumber, and we hear that. We don't see anything else in the room, but there's not much sense in just waiting at this point. Like, we either have to go in or we don't. So, Rucker is going to slowly advance with Buskar behind him. And we're just going to advance into the room. Probably to about, like, here. And we're going to be alert. Fiora, yeah, she could wait back and hide and try and... She's going to do that. She's just going to try to stay hidden behind this corner. And then she's going to try to pop out in order to backstab something with advantage. Okay. New initiative. Our initiative is 6. Their initiative probably is going to work out to like a plus... Does Nesnar have like god tier? No, he doesn't. Alright, then plus 0 for them as well. 1, okay. So it's our initiative. We still don't see anything, but now these two might be able to notice the bugbears. Possibly. It's not going to be easy. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. We skipped kind of over the whole surprise thing, which could still occur, because... Yeah, it could still occur. But we'll roll it into... Because technically, if we rolled a surprise roll, we would have to roll a 5 or 6. We'd have a 33% chance. So I think we'll set it as a DC 15 wisdom check for these two to notice. Okay, Rucker does notice. Buskar does not, but that's alright. So Rucker whispers quickly to Buskar that there's some creature hiding behind those pillars. You can sort of maybe see a glint of, or a hint of fur or something behind the pillar. Okay, so he's going to, he's going to charge in. He's going to charge into this one by where the dwarf was. Because I mean, if there's another character there, if there's another enemy there, then it could wake the dwarf. Like, it's a logical thing, right? I don't think this is a stretch. I mean, yeah, it's always tricky because I know everything, I can see everything, but I don't think that's that crazy. That when you put someone to sleep, you don't want them to get woken up before you you put them to sleep permanently. So yeah, Rucker's gonna charge over there and encounter this bugbear, and he's going to stab said bugbear. Okay. So he stabs it for 6 health, 6 damage, and he's gonna trip it. Buskar then is gonna join him, run over there, and hit the guy while he's down. Okay, only 1 damage, so we've done 7. These things have, I think, 15 is what we usually say. No, 14. It's 14. So he's at half health, and we see the dwarf there laying unconscious as well. And then that's it. Fiora. Yeah, she can't really prepare an attack. She can prepare an attack on anything that comes into view, but then she won't be hidden, because then she's going to be kind of standing there with her bow ready and waiting for a target. And she's not exactly like in the shadows or anything, because Gartuna has the torch right there, so she's not really in the shadows. So she's just kind of like peeking around the corner to keep watch, but she can't prepare an attack. All right. So that was our initiative, I believe. Yes, it sure was. So this bugbear then is going to stand up and is going to swing at Rucker. It gets advantage on its attack roll. And it gets +4, so that is a hit for 1d6 +1. Rucker goes down. This was worst case scenario. Awesome. That's why you don't charge in, folks. This might be our TPK. This other guy then is going to charge at Booskar. And he's going to roll twice. He misses. So Booskar is now surrounded by these two. And now I suppose this guy's going to make his grand appearance. He's got loads of spells that he could cast on poor little Booskar. Yeah, it's a little too convoluted for... He apparently can do a Poison Blast attack. I think 2d8 is probably a little vicious. For some sort of... For like a cantrip here. For a basic attack. But I think 1d8 is probably fair enough. So yeah, he's gonna ambush Booskar. He gets +5 to his attack roll. And he does 1d8 damage. He definitely hits for 5 damage. Booskar is also down. Okay. New initiative. Ours is 6. Theirs is not 6. Okay, Fiora is now going to try to snipe this bastard man. Yeah, I guess, how do we want to... you know what? I'd probably just give the player this. She held back. She was still in the corner behind a wall and everything. I'm just going to give it to her. So she can just roll her short bow with advantage. She only has the extra 1d6 from backstab, so it's not great. But she does get a very solid shot there. Okay, 10 damage. He felt that. That's for damn sure. I need to figure out how much health this guy has. Technically, he's a wizard, and I think technically we're saying... I probably shouldn't even have +5 on his attack roll, to be honest. I think we're saying he's sort of like a... No, he doesn't even have a... No, he has invisibility, so he would be like a 5th levels mage. This is the trickiest part of conversion, I suppose, is like the big boss, unique characters and stuff. I think, you know, most games like this would probably indicate you to just stat out a level 4 or 5 or whatever wizard. Like, just literally take a Shadowdark character and just roll it up and level it up to, like, level 5 as a wizard and give him spells and all that and, like, actually make it. Which is probably what I should have done. I mean, this is, like, the final boss of Lost Mines of Phandelver. This is a major villain. Like, you probably should take the time to stat it up properly rather than doing it on the fly. But, I mean, yeah, let's say it's a 5th level wizard. That's 5d4 hit points. He'd have 12 hit points. Which is... That's about average. That is about average for a level 5 wizard. So, yeah, I think 10 should be pretty significant. But then you say, well, isn't that really lame for a final boss to only have, like, 12 hit points at this point? I suppose. But that's why wizards will often surround themselves with a lot of body shields, so they don't just take an arrow in the neck like this. But sure, let's say he has 12 hit points. I don't think I actually would ever stat this villain up, though, with 12 hit points. Like, if I was running this for a group of players and they were playing Shadowdark, he'd probably have more than that. But he is meant to be a wizard. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't think the Shadowfinder Bestiary is going to have... I don't think it has, like, humans or anything, or anything of that equivalent. It might have elves or something. I guess it has drow. It's probably going to give it way more hit points. Why didn't I just go to drow? Drow Priestess, level 6, 28 hit points. But that's like, yeah, it's not quite a mage. Is it sort of a mage? There's a druid, level 7, 31 hit points. I mean, there you go. It's basically a wizard, right? A level 7 wizard. So if you max rolled all 74, you'd have 28 hit points, right? So they're already kind of breaking from that concept of enemies don't have to follow those specific rules. Well, no, because I imagine it probably follows that everything has a D8 hit die. In which case, the level 7 would have 31 hit points. Yeah. So basically, they all get D8s. So really, this guy should have 5 D8 hit points, which on average would be 22. That's probably more about what I would expect. So let's say he's got 22. So he's down now to 12 hit points. Gartuna is going to step out and cast Choking Grip on him. And she fails. Great. Okay. So then it's their initiative. We tried and failed. So now he's probably going to cast Web on this section here. And it's a DC 15 strength check. You know, I could have him roll, but it does specifically say for the spider staff. Yeah, web spell save DC 15. And I think that's fair enough. So strength save 15 versus the webbing. Okay, Fiora's not caught in it. Gartuna is. The bugbears are then going to run in, and they're going to definitely target Gartuna because she's in the webbing. So they're going to roll twice. They have advantage against her, and they have +4. The odds of her surviving this are very slim. It's 1 hit, and that is 2 hits. So it's 2d6 plus 2. Yep, she's down. Okay, and then Fiora. Well, new initiative, so she gets +2. 6 versus their 6. 5 versus their 6, so they get to go again. They're going to now pounce onto Fiora. First one, second one. Second one hits for 1d6 plus 1. And she's down. And that, my friends, is our TPK. Yeah, I tried. I tried, but that was a tough scenario. Spells didn't go. Rucker just did not have the hit points. Level 2 is pretty low, I think, for this. Everything out-levels us somewhat drastically. Every encounter we had out-leveled us. You just don't have enough hit points here. And as soon as your 1 Cure Wounds is gone, you know, that's it. I guess probably I could have, like, camped out in this room for a while and gotten back to full health, but I didn't have any spells lost at that point, so I was like, we're probably okay. Now, if you were determined and you played in a more modern game where things like this were more common, you could come up with some sort of narrative reason why this isn't a TPK. like you get captured or something like that. And you could try and spin this into a new plot line or something if you were creative enough. I'd have to really try and understand what Nesnar wants and what the Forge of Spells does and all that. Like, I'd have to put all this plot together in order to think what reason Nesnar would have for keeping us alive. Let's see here. D&D plots for captured characters. What to do with captured players. No, that's if they're captured by the guards, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, you could come up with something, right? Even if it's somewhat arbitrary, but it depends on the group. You know, plenty of people playing old school kind of games like this would kind of balk at the idea of, like, why the fuck would he capture us? You know, like I said, when I ran this for my players and they gave up on the Wave Echo Cave and the whole plot line, I spun it into a separate plot line where the villain activated the Forge of Spells and it basically exploded. You know, this massive crater that destroyed Phandelver and the whole region. And at the base of the crater, there was a portal to the abyss or to hell or whatever. And so I guess you could do something similar to that. Like, he keeps us alive because he's not quite sure what to do with us yet. You know, like, he thinks maybe he could, like, put some sort of magical curse on us or something like that and force us to do his bidding, or who knows what. He could break our minds. Who knows? He you know, we're pretty brave, capable adventurers, so he doesn't want to just throw away a potential tool. But so he keeps us alive in one of these rooms. And then he goes and he activates the Forge of Spells, and it explodes, creates a portal to the abyss, and our whole group gets sucked into the portal, and we wake up and we're in hell or something like that. You know, if you're playing a modern adventure like this, that's kind of you know, you don't mind fucking around with different planes and suspending disbelief a little bit, you could do that, and that could be a very memorable plotline as well. That would be something that maybe I would do. As it is, I imagine he probably just kills us, and that's the end of Phandelver and below. Which is really a bummer, because I was kind of hoping to actually see what the hubbub is. But the thing is, it's like, I don't think they're actually that connected. It says, if you aren't playing subsequent chapters of this adventure, no new plots need surface. If you are playing subsequent chapters, the characters likely want to escort Nundro home to Phandelver. They may also wish to follow up on disturbing evidence that strange goblins who aren't Cragmaws are threatening the area. No matter the characters' reasons, once they return to Phandelver, they'll find that these goblins have begun committing crimes in the town that hint at even more dangers to come. So then you go to chapter 5, and they just you come back to Phandelver, and the town is just in upheaval. Thievery, vandalism, violence plague it, all perpetrated by a band of goblins, some displaying strange psionic powers. And then basically it's just like they tacked on this whole separate adventure. And it like has nothing to do really with any of the other things of Lost Mines of Phandelver. So yeah, I guess we could just continue on and make a new party, and they arrive in Phandelver, and they experience all this stuff. Like, we certainly could do it that way. The only problem is, it's like, if I'm going to start fresh and basically have a whole new plot here with a whole new adventure path, why would I really run this one, which I have never heard any good things about, compared to, like, running one of the Pathfinder adventure paths that I have heard plenty of good things about, you know? If I'm going to run, like, a pre-written thing and try to make it work in an OSR game, like, why wouldn't I spend my effort and time on something that's just a better written module? Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it. I don't know. I mean, is it... I like I said, I mean, I don't follow D&D stuff much, but I really, like, never hear it just talked about or anything like that. It's very messy. They forgot a few details. They really did the bare minimum on connecting the two parts of the adventure. It's been buffed to be much harder. My party I'm running for, which includes 2 DMs, almost TPK in the first cave. Oh, that's for Lost Mines. Yeah, I... gave it an F. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's ever had that much good to say about any of the 5e stuff. But yeah, F grade's pretty rough. Yeah. Because, again, you know, often, most of the time, this solo thing that I do is generally to, like, experience modules that I would probably like to run for, say, my family sometime in the future. And I've done a lot of solo stuff now. I've probably done more solo stuff than... Like, it'll take me a long time of DMing to get to all this stuff, because I go very quickly when I play solo compared to when, you know, you're actually playing with a group. Players with a DM are typically pretty slow to progress through content compared to me playing solo. But yeah, that's generally what I like to do. And the thing is, it's like, I'm never going to run this. I'm never going to run Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk, for them, because I've already run them through Lost Mine of Phandelver, which they, again, gave up on at the end. So I'd have to just pick it up as, like, a new adventure set in Phandalin of the Shattered Obelisk portion with no connection to the previous stuff. And it's just like, why would I bother doing that? Apparently, it's not very good at all. I think the Shattered Obelisk is a travesty, and I'm going to give it the grade that it deserves. Literally everything original to the Shattered Obelisk is terrible. Someone asked me if it would be worth picking up as a resource for trying to make a better campaign, and my conclusion that it was that it would actually have negative value compared to just reading the basic pitch and designing your own campaign with the same concept. Lost Mine of Phandelver is a good adventure, and although it's been needlessly degraded here, this is nevertheless the only place where it can be found in print today. Yeah. F grade. So, yeah, I think if I were to run... And I might be interested in running, like, an actual pre-written adventure path kind of thing for my family. I've dabbled in that before, here and there, and usually it peters out before we get anywhere super significant, but, yeah, I just can't really see myself ever running the Shattered Obelisk. So, I guess we'll just skip it. That's where we come to an end. Not all, stories end in victories, I guess. I mean, you might say like, hey, you know, you're running 5e encounters for an old school game, you know, but that's the thing with the old school, you know, OSR games. Typically, there's no balance. There could have been 20 bugbears in this room, and that's a valid, that's a valid, you know, situation. Not that you're gonna run in there and kill 20 bugbears, but it's just you have to make your own balance and everything, and a DM doesn't really need to care if it's an easy fight, a fair fight, a good fight, whatever. You know, that's the situation, and it's up to the players to make the decisions based around that. So yeah, I mean, it was a tricky one because it would have been a lot easier had we gotten the draw before he got away, and then we could have snuck up on this room and caught the elf unaware, caught the bugbears unaware, things like that. But we did technically walk into a trap, even though we knew it was a trap. So I don't think we can really blame the situation that much. So yeah, I think I'm tempted. I do think this whole experiment, which has now officially come to a close, this whole experiment of taking a pre-written 5e module of Lost Mines of Phandelver and trying to convert it to like an OSR hex crawl sort of, you know, sandboxy sort of thing, I think it was overall pretty successful. Had its ups and downs. But I think it's like, it's a sort of thing of like, basically anything can be converted. You know, anything can be converted. Any story, any setting, any plot line, whatever, it can all be converted into a more old school approach. But at the same time, it's like, you're still running a plot, you know? You're still running a plot. These are written characters doing written activities, and you know, there's pre-written rooms and all. Like, I don't know. It depends. You know, this isn't going to be a module or a situation that everyone is going to enjoy running or playing in. But I also, you know, I'm running it solo, and I tried to adhere specifically to the plot line. I didn't try to like break it or just ignore a lot of stuff or skip over stuff. Like, you know, I kind of went location by location, and characters gave me little side quests, and I was like, okay, let's do that side quest. And so it is somewhat railroady, despite, you know, us turning it into a hex-based map with travel time and all that kind of stuff, and making it more lethal and blah blah blah. It's still somewhat railroady. We're going to Cragmaw Castle because we want to rescue this guy. We rescue the guy, and then he gives us the map and says, please rescue my brothers. They're at this dungeon. And then we go to the dungeon and blah blah blah. You know, so you are kind of getting led along. And you know that you can't just say, let's fuck this. Let's just go off to Neverwinter and party for a few months. It's like, you can't really do that because this is the plot line that you're on. So it's one of those things that requires player buy-in as well, which is true for, you know, it's true for every campaign. The players have to buy into what the DM is running. Whether that's a big sandbox hex crawl with no specific direction, or something very railroad and tight and calculated in a pre-written, you know, adventure path or something. Players have to buy in and be like, okay, well, we're not going to go fuck off and do whatever because we want to follow along on this story and progress. So we didn't really turn this into a sandbox hex crawl or anything. That was never the intention. It was just to see, like, hey, what if my preferred game is not D&D 5th edition, it's something more old school and more lethal and things like that? What would that look like if I wanted to run Lost Mines of Phandelver? And I think we did that. And I think it's not a bad experience. If I was a player and my DM came to me and said, hey, I'm going to run Rime of the Frost Maiden or whatever, because I don't want to think too much. I just want to run a pre-written thing. Would you rather play in D&D 5th edition or Shadowdark? You know, I'm gonna say Shadowdark. I prefer, you know, the lethality and having to think things through and being clever and all that and being more flexible and blah blah blah. I want him to put in, like, you know, random encounters on the road and traveling through the forest and having to buy donkeys to carry my stuff and all these sort of trappings that this style of game comes with that 5th edition mostly handwaves and ignores. So, yeah. I think it was a good experiment. I enjoyed it. And I'm tempted now, then, to actually try looking at a Pathfinder one. I have a bunch of them. I haven't really read much of them outside of, like, the opening sections, like the first chapter of a few of them and stuff. I don't know which one. I'd want to pick one that I would think that my players would like the most. And so my players are special. They would probably prefer the one that's, like, the most railroady and the most sort of, like, classic fantasy of, like, you know, zeros to heroes, fighting goblins and orcs and saving the world and saving the day. And Kingmaker might actually be pretty viable. There was a blog that I looked at a while back that converts Pathfinder stuff was it this one? Well, I don't think this is it. No, this isn't it. It was somebody that converts Pathfinder. Here, this guy, Against the Wicked City. So he converts Pathfinder adventure paths into, like, very heavily condensed OSR campaigns. So this is, like, the full thing of Kingmaker. And it's just this hex map. 6 mile hexes. And there's one, like, yeah, there's like 70 hexes here, and that's it. That's the entirety of Kingmaker. And so you just turn it, he literally turned it completely into a sandbox hex crawl with a very basic plot line. So it's like 600 pages converted down into a 3-page hex crawl, you know? So this is one way to do it. If you want to skip over all, like, the characters and the narratives and blah, 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 you can just have a little hex scroll. This is a much smaller campaign, sort of, but I think probably could still have quite a few sessions out of this. You know, I looked at this and I was like, yeah, I don't know if it's really Kingmaker. I don't know if anyone would really call this Kingmaker. I mean, obviously he took locations and stuff from the module, from the adventure path, and gave these, like, very short descriptions. A wandering giant, usually drunk, looking for berries suitable for making moonshine with. That's it. That's what's in that hex, you know? Here's the Stag Lord or whatever. This stuff like that. I mean, it's very simplistic. By design, it's very flexible, and it's just sort of like, yeah, this is a little hex crawl. Again, I don't know if I'd really call it Kingmaker. It's a nice little hex crawl. I could easily just have a random generator come up with something like this in a few seconds. Maybe they wouldn't be as interesting as some of these spots or anything, but yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So I'll take a look over the Pathfinder adventure paths and try and think of which one my players would be most interested in playing in. And then, yeah, maybe we'll give it a try with Shadowdark or something. But for now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging with Phandelver and Below. and I'll see you fine folks around.